Okay, Chairman, we're now live on Facebook and ready to
Thank
go.
you. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this meeting of the Manor House and Riverside Centre Committee on the 25th of November. I'll go through all the bit of housekeeping. Declarations of interest. Any members have any declaration of interest? Items requiring urgent attention, which we haven't got. Freedom of Information Act. I don't need to read all this because I think we know it off by heart. Data protection. Our phones, please make sure that your phones are off. Sorry, I heard something there.
I think there was just a little background interference there, Chairman.
Recording. The meeting may be filmed or recorded, and I believe we're going live on Facebook, so it is. Public participation. I don't think we've anybody for to take part in this. Right. Apologies for absence.
Just one apology from Councillor Foden, Chairman, and I would think Councillor Mary Lowther will be joining us shortly, perhaps.
Right, okay. That all makes sense now. Agreement to the agenda between part 1 and part 2. There is no part 2. Declarations of interest to declare any disclosable interest regarding to the following items. No one. Minutes, page 5 or 6. These have been circulated. Does everybody agree with these? Please raise your hand. Thank you. Item 6. The Manor House, Riverside Centre and Town Council offices COVID-19 to receive a verbal update from the Town Clerk as to the ongoing impact of COVID on the Council's operations in respect of the Manor House and Riverside Committee. Over to you, Andrew.
Thank you, Chairman. I think the last meeting in September, we discussed the fact that the building was pretty much back to approximately 75 to 80% capacity of bookings. And of course, here we are in November and we're in lockdown again. And I would say that's probably dropped to about 10 to 15%. We're still managing to accommodate exempt activities such as counselling sessions and support groups, educational activities. We await the decision as to which tier Devon and Teambridge are going to and we're led to believe that that's to be announced from tomorrow. We also understand that even if we are in tier 2, groups can still continue to operate following the COVID secure guidelines, which is what we were doing before the lockdown. So we anticipate we should be able to get back up and running very quickly from the 2nd of December. But we obviously need to wait to find out which tier we are going to be in. If it's tier 3, then obviously that will have a considerable bearing on our activities. Yeah. But that's a sort of work in progress at the moment. In terms of the building itself, we've reached out for quotations to redecorate the foyer and the main area by the stairs going up. We've not received those back yet. In terms of the Riverside Centre, we did recently purchase some signage because we've been having quite a number of complaints of youths and some antisocial behaviour around there being on the roof of the building, which is obviously quite not unstable but fragile, and so we have put signage up just warning people that the area is covered by CCTV and that it is a fragile roof and to keep off. That hasn't gone unnoticed by a resident who has suggested that they are perhaps a little too what's the word, too
obtruse.
You're trying so hard to be nice there,
I'm being diplomatic, so but we haven't had any reports of any antisocial behaviour since, and we have had instances where we've had to remove a wheelie bin from the roof. We've had bottles and stones thrown from the roof. We've had people around underneath the canopy smoking with barbecues, and obviously those doors that do come out onto the very small brick paved area are fire exits, and so obviously that does need to be kept clear. So those signs have gone up. They're A4 size, they're backed with red with white lettering, and I mean that was the main aim of them, that they be seen. So fingers crossed that should be a deterrent going forward.
They
We
need to
also
be
have
visual, don't they?
Yes, that's right, Chairman. And in terms of the conservatory at the Manor House, which has obviously been a long-standing issue, the more immediate, as Councillor Moorhood will probably address in a second, the more immediate need to make remedial repairs to the conservatory as it is now, and obviously going forward, dependent on the outcome of item 7 on your agenda, we have the longer-term commitment to hopefully, if members are minded to, reinstate a conservatory on the previous footprint. So that's what's going on at the moment, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Councillor Bradby.
Thank you. You mentioned lots of antisocial behaviour. Can I just ask if the police are aware of this? Has it all of the instances been logged? Because I know it's always worth it, even if it's multiple occasions. So I just thought I'd mention that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you. I'm not sure that everything's been logged, but certainly the most recent event that led to some signage was actually brought to our attention whilst the PCSO was in the Town Council office. And she quickly went down and had a word for us. So yes, the police are aware. Luckily, it is fairly sparing, but obviously we don't want to encourage it any further.
Yeah, no. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moorhood.
Thank
and
you.
then Councillor Lowther.
Thank you, Chair. Could I ask the clerk, you said quotes about redecoration. I don't remember hearing anything about it. Could you tell me a bit more about that, please? And then I've got another question.
It's simply investigative quotes to find out how much it would cost to redecorate the foyer, and then that will go back to the committee.
Oh, the foyer and where else? Just the foyer, the first part and the second part?
Two. Yeah.
Right. Second question, if I may, Madam Chair. The Riverside, we know that we only have the building itself, and every bit of land around it is timberage. That includes the part between the back wall and the wall along Brook Street, which is being dealt with as far as weeds and saplings go at the moment by the Open Spaces officer, or rather his contractors. I've often thought one way to stop them getting on the wall and onto the roof would be to have a fence of a few feet, wire would do, immediately on the inside. Of course, that would involve us asking Timbridge. I would like that to be brought up at some future date, please, if the chair thinks that's admissible. And I have one other thing to say. When the police are called or attend something going on anywhere in the town, but including there, can we please ask that they report it? Because it appears that reports don't necessarily get made. Therefore, we don't seem to be seen as an area with any kind of problem. And I say that advisedly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think actually I will come to you now, Terry. I think actually it may be worth making inquiries about the wire fencing, but I don't know how complicated that would be, being as it's Teambridge's land, and but we can look into it, can't we?
It's certainly a question we can ask, Chairman. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lowther.
Thank you, Chairman.
Terry Lowther.
I may have missed it, but do we have a report on progress with the ladies' loo in the Manor House?
Not yet. Not yet.
No, not
Why not?
Not for this meeting, Chairman. We have made inquiries of Teambridge. They contacted the who they thought was the contractor, who replied to say that it was of certain type and build, but it wasn't them that subcontracted out to do the work. So we're still waiting to find out which contractor that was.
Okay, thanks for that. I'm just concerned because it's a long-standing issue that really does need to be sorted.
It does. Thank you. Oh, Councillor Heath.
Thank you, Chair. Going back to what Andrew said about meetings in the various rooms, I'm due to speak on a garden club early in January. If it was tier 1 and tier 2, would that type of meeting still be allowed? I don't know what numbers they normally had, or I think you can be restricted, don't we, to 30 anyway. Got any ideas about that one, or have they contacted you?
I would imagine it would still be able to go ahead provided everybody was in a group of 1. So you'd have 30 groups of 1 and there was no mingling or socializing before, during and after. Ultimately, that will be a decision for the Garden Society themselves.
Right.
And we'll obviously be contacting all of our hirers with an update of the most recent, announcements from the government. And then on the back of that, they may well come back to us.
Right. Okay, I'll watch the space. Loop me in.
Thank you very much. Councillor Mary Lowther.
It is for late entrance, but had the same problem as I had the other evening, so I've had to come onto the computer. I'm just referring to the working group. When we actually, it was Councillor Main and myself, we went round and investigated the Manor House, and that was on the 11th of February, with lots of things that needed doing, and I don't ever remember seeing any report onto any of the tasks being achieved. And one of those was the black and white floor tiles at the front of the property. There was such a lot. There was radiators, paintwork, and seeing that the place has been more or less closed down for months, I would have thought that it had been the ideal time, together with the ladies' toilets, to have had all this, building work done.
Mm.
So I would like to know some idea of how far we've got with this report that we had. Because I did send everybody a copy of it. Everybody got a copy of what we did and into the office, but I've heard nothing.
Chairman, I don't know if Councillor Mary Lowther was present with us when we mentioned about the quotes being sought for the redecorating. So that's arisen directly out of the working group's report back in February. There was also a note in there about the trolley being used by the caretaker, and we were making investigations for a different type of trolley and use. Many of the items on there, as with other areas of our work, have slowed down. There's no doubt about that, and a lot of things haven't been able to be progressed for obvious reasons, but we are starting to get back on top of those now. So it is still, forefront of our minds to get on with those things, and that's what we're focusing on now, Chairman.
Thank you. A lot of those items were general housekeeping, actually.
They were.
When we went around ourselves, we saw it, like ladies' bird nests and a lot of wasps and things like that, on top of general painting and cleanliness. So I do agree with Councillor Lowther. Maybe while we were quiet, while it wasn't being used, it was the time to get all the jobs done, but it's been unprecedented. So fingers crossed everything gets sorted out eventually, and not too far distant future. I mean, remember the black and white tiles in the porch at the front entrance? They needed, one replacing and some needed repairing, I think. Sorry?
Yeah, one tile, Chairman, needs filling, and I have contacted the monumental stonemason that attended the War Memorial for a quotation on that, so that is also in hand.
Thank you very much, Andrew.
May I just come back? I know it all sounds very good saying, but we have not been really informed. And it was a form that I sent in with date action completed, so we could all see what has been going on. But I've obviously missed a verbal report, but I would have thought we would have had a written report by now, because it is a long time since February. Thank you.
Thank you. I do believe we've had little bits of updates come along and other reports, haven't we, Andrew? Or am I wrong? Because I was
I've not
aware.
seen anything.
We have brought updates to the committees that we've had since we've been meeting virtually. Obviously, we didn't meet in April, so the first meeting would have been around June, July time. We have had updates since then, but if you'd like a report arising out of this meeting coming back following that pro forma, if you like, I'm happy to circulate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. That would be very useful, Andrew. Councillor Moorhood.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the same theme, I agree that it would be useful if we had an update in writing, if you like. I was a member of the group but unable to attend because I was ill at the time. However, like other councillors, I have sent in my concerns about, first of all, the porch, the toilets, the outside old conservatory and different things. And I do get some feedback, but I think it would be useful if we all had the same feedback on the different things. The way that Angie gives us updates on the CAC projects, it's very, very helpful to see what's stuck, what's actually getting somewhere. You know, just a thought. I agree with Mary.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll go on to the next item now. Nobody else has anything to say. Listed Property Owners Club. I think I need to go over to Andrew for this. It's whether to consider joining at a cost of £48 per annum. I think it's quite self-explanatory, but what benefits do we get?
Thank you, Chairman. This was actually suggested to us by Teignmouth Town Council, who are members with Bitton House, and they're obviously quite some way behind us in terms of the way they use the building, and I think they've been looking to our model as an end goal, if you like, for Bitton House, and they extol the virtues of this group and the advice they've been able to get from them. One in particular is free conservation and planning advice from the group, and they also have a list of specialists, you know, a directory of specialists for listed buildings that you can go to either for advice or for tendering for quotes. They'll also advise you know, a building of a certain nature and age, this is the type of decoration you would have had on the inside and outside, obviously depending on its uses, of course. And they also deal with not just commercial buildings, but individual domestic properties. You also are eligible for specialist insurance. Now, I appreciate that we get some of our insurance for the Manor House covered with the council's main policy, but it may well be that we ought to look to that to see if it's beneficial for us in that sense of insuring separately the Manor House. Obviously, this just relates to the Manor House, not the Riverside Centre. But in terms of the conservation and planning advice, particularly as we're looking for solar panels and other bits and pieces, and the directory for works that we want to do, then I think for £48 a year, it would be a good idea to do that. But obviously that is for members to decide.
I can see a couple have got their hands up. I will come back to you. I think it would be really useful, because even considering the item we've got coming up later on from Councillor Heath, I mean, we may need help with sorting things out with that. So yes, I think it's a very good idea, but I'll go to Councillor Lowther first and then Councillor Moorhood. Councillor Mary Lowther.
Thank you. I'm just inquiring whether there is extra charges when we ask them to do the survey or things. Is there an extra charge?
Chairman, I would imagine, as with anything, you get the initial advice free, and then if you ask them to do a specific project, then they would then charge you. It may come with a discount through being a member of this group. I don't know, but I would imagine that would be the same for most organisations of this nature.
Sorry, I just want to keep on. Do we have a surveyor? Because when we did the Manor House way back, the surveyor was more or less qualified in historic buildings, and this is where we got, you know, all the different things, and some of us ourselves knew lots of information.
Yeah, we did, Chairman. We did have, oh, well, it's before my time at the council, but yes, I understand there was a surveyor. And I think in respect of the conservatory as it is now, that may have been one of the downfalls of that particular bit of advice that was received in the state that it's now in. Not saying that the other works that they advised on was not of good quality. We have tried to get an approved contractors list from Teambridge and use the contractors that they use. They no longer have one, and they buy into a Devon-wide scheme, which we're not able to have details for. So it is on our list to have an approved contractor, specifically an architect, that can then produce a program of works. That's what we'd like to get towards, is a complete program of works that we do all year round, which involves regular maintenance and obviously any immediate requirements that come up as and when things fail. So again, access to this group may well provide us with those types of surveyors that can give us that specialist advice rather than just a generic architect or surveyor. That's the hope anyway, Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Moorhood.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Couple of things. I live in a large, very old listed house, and I was approached by this company some years ago. I went into it, but I decided from my point of view, I could get all the information from all kinds of other websites, but that's up to the committee to decide. I would say, I don't know that they provide services. They provide directories and they provide guidance, and then you can look up all their other lists of who you might go to. And I would say, of course, our first port of call always is Timbridge, because they are the ones who give us planning or conservation area consent or listed building consent. So they are our first port of call anyway. Andrew's just mentioned architects. I do think that we have to be careful if we go down that avenue, that we actually go to qualified architects who are members of REBA and not people who sometimes call themselves architectural technicians. It doesn't mean to say that they have got the same experience or qualification. Just Correct. To point that out, there are quite a few who do very well in their realms, but there are two different things you're talking about. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Terry Lowther, and then Councillor Goodman-Barry, did you have your hand up just now? Yeah, Councillor Lowther.
All right. First of all, I'm very concerned to hear that Timbridge doesn't have listed contractors now, and they therefore use the county ones, and we're not allowed to have access to them. Can that be approached again to find out why we don't have access to them? I mean, it is normal for an organisation. Most corporate organisations have listed contractors. Well, approved contractors.
Yeah, Chairman, I was saying they don't have a list of approved contractors that is solely for Teambridge. They use a approved contractors list provided by Devon County Council through some, it must be some joint working arrangement, and we're not privy to that.
Why not?
Don't know. I've asked the question and they were not forthcoming as to why.
Could you ask it again, please?
I can try. I don't want
to put you in an awkward position. I don't want to put you in an awkward position. I don't want to embarrass you. I don't want to embarrass them, because it's ridiculous to have a list of approved contractors and then hold it close to their chest. You know, that should be useful information for us. Yeah. In the meantime, yes. I think it would be a good idea to spend £48 a year on a list of recommended people with specialist knowledge and advice and so on. For that sort of money, it could pay for itself in a year.
Thank you. Councillor Lynn Goodman-Barry.
Yeah, I was about to say that as well. I'd propose that we do join the listed property owners club. It's not a lot of money. It gives us the scope to get in touch with experts. I take Councillor Moorhood's point. I live in a second listed building, as it were, myself, but it's anything that can point us in the right direction. I think it's worth doing, and at £48 it's a snip from that point of view. So I'm happy to propose that we accept that, Chair, if you're.
Thank you very much. Councillor He.
Yeah, before you go to a vote, though, I don't think it should affect it. I'd just like to point out it's not a lot of money, £48, but having worked in the building industry for many years, do bear in mind one thing, that you could get caught by your own cleverness, and that is you'll find that specialist architects who deal with, should we call it ancient buildings, will often be twice the price of a normal surveyor. So it's not necessarily a route to an easy answer. If you work with a local surveyor regularly, you'll get to know your building, be a lot cheaper, and also the bits that he doesn't know, they can do a special referral. But if you use an architect that it is specialising in listed buildings, you could find it quite expensive. So I don't know if that's something you've come across in the past. So I just sort of pointed out for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Even if we go to them, it doesn't mean we have to use the people that they recommend. You know, it's just someone extra there on the list, isn't it, for us to look at? Thank you for that. Councillor Moorhood, then Councillor Terry Lowther, then Councillor Mary Lowther.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just following on from something that Councillor Terry Lowther brought up about approved lists, it used to be the case that we, as a council, were able to invite local firms to join, if you like, or to qualify for an approved list. Is that still available? Because it seems to be an awful shame if there are suitably qualified people in this area not to use them. We didn't get a lot of uptake because I think it was quite complicated. But I'd like to know if that option is still there, and if it is, can we not advertise it?
Chairman, I think Councillor Wrigley has previously alluded to the need for an approved contractors list. I'm not sure if the council did at one time have one. It does actually say in the NAUC, I think it's the financial regulation, the model financial regulations, that you should defer to your principal authorities approved contractors list. So there is a bit of a contradiction in terms there, the fact that we can't access it because Teambridge have sort of bumped up to use the county. So as per what Councillor Terry Lowther has said, then obviously that's something we need to clarify. I think failing us being able to gain or glean any information from them, then perhaps, yes, we could look towards setting up our own approved contractors list locally, whilst deferring to any wider organisations if we can't find that expertise locally.
As I recall, we didn't have our own list, but we were able to ask people to be added to the Timbridge list. That's, as I recall. I'm sure that Councillor Terry Lowther knows more about that than I do.
Yes, in fact, we do have we did have our own list, which I started. I think I was saying for a while that we ought to have a contractors list, and we started it. And I know some contractors joined it, but whether it's still in existence, I don't know. It can be in a drawer somewhere, I guess. I've no idea, but certainly there was one. In the meantime, can I take this opportunity, since I have my hand up, to say that if that was a proposal we had from Councillor Goodman Bradby, I want to second it.
Thank you. Thank you. I've got Councillor Mary Lowther next on the list, but she's disappeared from view, so I don't know whether we carry on or...
She'll be back with you in a matter of seconds.
Okay.
She's just been answering the door. Here she comes. She'll be with you any moment now.
I do think, especially in the times we're in now, we should have an approved list of local traders. I mean, if we can keep everything close to home as possible, I think it's the perfect way to go.
Yeah.
But thank you. Councillor Mary Lowther.
Yes, I think I've most probably missed it. But I was going to just second Councillor Goodman Barbary's proposal.
You've missed it.
Yeah.
Your husband beat you to the vote.
Yes. Oh well. Yes. I know it's been recorded, but I just had a food delivery.
Okay.
So I've got to go and nick and put the frozen food. I'll be back in a minute.
Okay. So we've had a proposal that we join from Councillor Goodman Barry, and we've been seconded by Terry Lowther. So all in favour?
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Right, next item on the list, and my iPad has just died on me. Might be a second. Next item on the list is the wedding license renewal charges. I mean, we have had it's about 3 or 4 pages, isn't it? It's been circulated for a week or so now. So I've read through it. I assume everybody else has. Can we see anything in there that we're not happy with?
No.
I mean, it's a very difficult time at the moment now to be thinking about wedding charges when people are finding it difficult to get married.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I did see, and I'm not sure what happened, that they were opening up more venues for people to get married in, you know, but whereas before you had to be covered by certain rules and regulations, now they're opening up more and more. It's going a little bit more Americanized. But I can see nothing wrong with these charges. We've got to go, we've all got expenses to cover. The Manor House isn't cheap to keep going, and if this helps in any way, shape or form, I can see no problems with it. I think I'd like to go to Angie, our events and projects officer first, and then Goodman Barry, then Balmorewood. Thank you.
Just to say, Chairman, thank you. The approved venues you're talking about is the consultation that's currently ongoing with the Law Commission nationally. The outcome of knowing what the results of that is not going to be known until next year, because the consultation doesn't finish until the 4th of January. But you're quite right. What they're consulting on is whether there should be the concept of still approved venues, which is what we currently have a license for. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Councillor Moorhood.
Thank you, Chair. I am concerned that there are going to be more venues available. I was concerned last year when the price was increased rather a lot in a one go, so to speak, in one bite. And I'm sure that our projects officer, Angie, has gone into this in a great deal of detail. If I had my way, I'd reduce it even more, but I'm sure that the arithmetic doesn't allow. I just hope that we'll be able to compete in the range that we can cater for. I would add that I hope all the improvements to the surrounding grounds and gardens are going to help to enhance the manor for this purpose. And subject to whatever anyone else is about to say, I'd be happy to propose that we accept it, but I'll defer to this to Councillor Lynn Goodman Bradbury.
Okay,
Thank you. Councillor Bradbury.
Thank you. I think this is a really balanced report, actually. I think it takes into account the fact that what we can and can't offer at the Manor House. I think in the past, it looks a lovely venue, and I think it's there's a few bits and bobs that could be improved, a little bit of decor here, a little bit of carpet there, but the grounds, as you mentioned, Councillor Moorhood, really make a big difference, and I think make it a really lovely place for the photographs, and it's big enough rooms for nice party and nice get together, good photographs, which is at the end of the day what people are looking for a good wedding venue. What we don't have is someone to kind of guide and smooth the edges, a member of staff to actually greet people, show people around. Almost, I mean, there's almost a business opportunity here, really, is someone just introducing people in. But that wouldn't be our responsibility. We're here to offer the venue, and it's just people don't seem to get to know how to use the venue is really what I'm trying to say. But you know, at some of these big hotels, they have like someone who smooths all the edges, is all I'm saying. And I'm certainly not taking anything from you, Angie. I see you're waving your hand at this point. I'm certainly not adding to your in tray, I can assure you on that. But I think it's the right kind of venue. I do think sometimes that I have thought about it being overpriced. So I do agree that we do need to renew the charges. I think there's lots of people waiting to get married, and if we are more competitive, I think that would be a good thing for us and for the venue itself. I'm happy to second Councillor Moorhood's proposal to renew the wedding licence and agree to the charges as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to go over to Angie, our events officer.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to say to Councillor Goodman-Bradbury, we do, when someone rings up, we do take them round or agree a time to take them round, show them the building. A lot of people are local, so know the building quite well, and are just interested in the additional things that we can offer. I mean, we do have, for example, the crockery, you know, and glasses and this sort of stuff. But no, we're not wedding organisers. I think that's been clear since the outset, but we're happy to do what we can. And for example, you know, how I have turned up on the day just to make sure everything is running smoothly with Roger, the caretaker. But in reality, most people recognise what sort of facility I think we are.
And Chairman, if I can just...
Thank you very much. I was really impressed with the amount of new cutlery and crockery and glasses that we've actually got in the kitchen. I didn't realise quite how much we had there. We've got everything to put on a good wedding, but people know this isn't a hotel-led wedding where everything's done for you. You're going to come in and do it yourself. And most people know money-wise is going for that one. Yes, Andrew.
Well, Chairman, I was just going to add to what Angie's just said. I think when the prices were increased in 2018, when Alison Holmes was in post, I think many of the exclusive wedding hirers were feeling that that post was there to act as almost a wedding coordinator or organizer. And I think Alison brought her report to the meeting to recognise the fact that it needed not necessarily her, but it needed a member of staff to be on hand on the day, albeit not in the front line, but available at all times, because she was finding that she was having to serve drinks to, welcome drinks to guests, and of course it wasn't being included in the price. So she was trying to ensure that that extra assistance wasn't going missed. But I think we've now come to a situation where we realise that we are a DIY venue. We've got a great venue that we can offer out to people, and as Angie's now demonstrated in the report, and as Councillor Goodman-Bradbury has noted, it's I think it's a fair price for what we can offer, and we do certainly sell it hard when people come round to have a look at the building. And I think not that long ago, before lockdown, someone came from further afield, maybe a few counties away, because they simply holiday in Dawlish. So we are known further afield, and we'd like to try and push that, and we've got upgraded web pages now advertising our offer, and some of the pictures that we've had of the different types of weddings. I mean, the council chamber and the mayor's parlour especially look fantastic. Really, really do. So it just shows what can be done. And on a nice day, as has been mentioned with the Manor grounds, you couldn't really ask for a better location, and you could be in the middle of the countryside with the brook running past. So it's certainly, hopefully, when the good times do return, we've got a great venue that we can put forward to people.
I agree with you there. We are, as I said earlier, we're not a hotel. We're not a wedding specialist, but we are supplying the grounds and the room for someone to get married in. And I think 90% of people that come looking because they want the manor. They've not decided that we'll go and look at the manor, see what it's like. Most people know what it's like. Most people know the manor. They're either local, or, as you said, somebody's come down on holiday and make their mind up this is where they want to get. And it's a reasonable price when you look at a hotel. Councillor Heath.
Yes, thank you. And you probably will know the answer to this one. As an overall, rather than individual types of weddings, what is the overall reduction you're proposing and seconded across the board? Others, not just an individual particular one, the overall reduction, just as an interest for all of us.
If I may, Chair, obviously the price is currently 795, so it's coming down to 600. It's very hard to estimate. if you're looking for the number of weddings times the reduction, it's impossible to calculate.
No, I only meant per hire. So it's about 10-12% reduction, yeah?
Yes, and I have consulted with Manda, the admin officer, because obviously she's on the bookings end for other bookings in the Manor House, and we both believe this to be the right sort of level for a whole building hire, and to be relatively competitive. So yes, it's about 200.
And is that for the whole year, or for like 6 months when we hope COVID will be under control, or is it the whole year you're proposing?
It's the whole year proposal, because as you were seeing from the paper previously, it was increases were stepped, and this was quite a big increase from last year. It went to 795. So we're asking for the whole year, because the reality is if we have material produced in terms of advertising, you've got to look for a year in terms of leaflets. And for example, I've been booking adverts now for Valentine's Day, or actually booked them in November for Valentine's. So this will kick in at the beginning of April for the new financial year. I think this year is pretty much written off.
Right, okay, thank you.
Being fairly blunt.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If anyone would like to get married, please let them contact me.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think I'm right in saying...
Find me someone.
I think I'm right. I think I'm right in saying, Madam Chair, that and that when the price was considerably increased, bookings considerably dropped, and this is previous to the COVID in this current year. And so it's very important that we become more competitive. And I understand the business of how the hosting grew and how it can't continue. But what does occur to me is that we take part in, or have done in the past, in these wedding fairs and so forth. Is it possible? I don't want an answer at the minute, but I'm wondering if it's possible for some of the people who advertise us without being recommended by us, those links could be also sent to people when they book, and then they might find someone in there who does the hosting as well as the food or whatever. Just a thought.
Yeah.
Thank you. Angie's.
If I may, Chair, just to come back, prior to COVID, we were due to attend a wedding fair the October that's just gone at West Point. We had a stand booked, and we would have been promoting the venue. In addition, we do have a suppliers list which now needs to be updated, but is not recommended, but is local suppliers available in the area. And we did have an inquiry not that long ago, which alas has come to nothing. It was about someone holding a wedding fair of suppliers within the Manor House. But because of COVID, I think a lot of things are just not in the diary at the moment. But we are booked to go to West Point at, I think that they're aiming to do it in March. We can't actually attend in March, but the one after that, when they hold it, hopefully.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think we've talked this one through. We've had a proposal and we have a second. We did have a seconder, didn't we?
Yeah.
So that we go with this recommendation. All in favour?
Chairman, can I just clarify, this is for A and B? You're taking both together, are you?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Mary?
Thank you. Anybody against?
I wasn't in for the full discussion, so I'm part vote.
Okay.
Fine, it's passed, Chairman.
Thank you. Right, and we are now on to the next item. You'll have to excuse me because my iPad is frozen, which is, help me here, Andrew, please. I've completely lost everything.
It's the update from the chairman of the Climate Declaration Working Group, Councillor Heath, Chairman.
Chair, could I just interrupt? Can I just interrupt for a moment, if I may, before Councillor Heath starts? I have to leave at 3 o'clock, so if he goes over that,
okay.
I might just disappear with your permission.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Heath.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I can assure you I won't go over 3 o'clock, and I'll only be a few minutes, depending, of course, if you ask lots of questions which I may or may not be able to answer. As you know, the full council meeting on the 30th of September 2019, we passed many resolutions in one to be more eco-friendly, of which some happens, some haven't happened due to COVID and other reasons. The knives and forks and things that was mentioned earlier on, by the way, some of those have been updated because that was on the list to get rid of plastics. So I may be corrected, but I think that did help our set for doing weddings and so on. So hopefully that's now fantastic, as we don't really want to use plastic. But our main thing today, very, very briefly, because I've only got a certain amount of info, and our climate group and the office have a circulated thing from Teambridge, which we have joined up with, to share the cost if people want to have these solar panels put in. It's discounted by about 36% or somewhere around there, and it's a very good deal. So we've signed up for it to get the first stage out of the way, especially because we've got literally now days left before hopefully you're all happy with, though it doesn't say that on here, but I'm sure Andrew will explain it a bit more, a signature, if it hasn't already happened, for him to sign some money over, no doubt by backs these days, we don't do checks, to pay for the survey. So we've got to the stage now. I registered it, otherwise we miss out on the scheme. It's a group scheme that Devon County Council and Teambridge have put together with ACT, the group on climate change, and they've got a number of installers who are working with them. Because, if you like, the council has done a lot of the sales and marketing, they're picking up lots of business, and because of that, they're giving a big discount. So that's where we are. It's a bit of a shame we hadn't got progress earlier, but who knows, it might be the best thing in the end, because I don't think we would have got a discount like this if we hadn't have got delayed on it. But we are where we are, and we've got literally about a week or so to go, and it has to go through. Now, before you ask questions, just there are technical things I can't answer because I am not brave enough to go up on the roof through wobbly ladders or whatever. And it will be a question for Andrew and the caretaker if this is a problem, but the surveyor will need to go and look on the roof, take photographs. So hopefully that trapdoor or whatever it is still okay to use. As soon as we've signed the deposit, which I think could be returnable, which is £150, by the way, which could be returnable if we can't do it because of planning. So they will go up there, they will look at the roofs that don't face the road, which I'm not sure if that's the south or the west one, but whichever one it is. I don't think we can have them on all of the roof because it will probably have objections from planning, a listed building, etc. So they'll go up there and have a look. They have made a sort of a calculation, not subject to survey, well, it's subject to survey, but without surveying it, because obviously they don't know exactly what they're going to come across until they get up there and what all the projections are. But the projection at the moment is for 15 panels. I probably think that's probably the maximum. They might have to reduce it because of those facing the road, which will produce nearly 4.5 kilowatts, which is not a bad amount for running all the computers and normal stuff. So we get almost free electricity when the sun's out. And I think we should also go for the batteries, because that means anything over-generated that we don't use, we can actually store and then reuse, especially when the hirings get taken off again, because if there's anything left over, that will be used at night when there's no solar energy. So I would recommend basically taking the batteries as well as the solar panels, which is the way to go these days. So that survey will be done fairly soon as, I say as soon as the money's sent, and that's where it's got to. There is a big thing, it's still only 50% or may even be 49% chance of actually it going through, because we're having enough problems, you know, with the old rectory getting stuff sorted. Well, and they don't like the idea of it being changed. We are a listed building. They might still say no, but we've got to take it to the last bit. And if, as one or two councillors, I will be nameless, suggested, well, if they do say no, we should take it to appeal. I would obviously leave that to you and possibly a full council. But I've done what I can on it. I'm open for questions. We just need to get on with it, basically. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Chairman, if I can quickly jump in before Councillor Moore, who's got a hand up. Just to say, I've put on screen the information we received back from the organisation that would be carrying out the works. As you'll see, the total package, if we're granted consent and the survey is favourable, the total package for 15 panels was 6194.29. That includes VAT, so obviously we can knock that off. It shows you there our savings and productions of energy for solar only, and then in the second column it says with battery. If you wanted to go down the battery route, that is indicated towards the bottom of an additional 1,740, and it would increase our independence from the grid from 32% to 59%, so not an insignificant
No.
Wow.
So it would be helpful perhaps as part of this meeting whether members would like to just to give a steer as to whether that might be favourable. If the survey then comes back being okay, and we then later need to take the decision at a future committee meeting or council meeting, we can include that suggestion in that decision as well. Thank you.
Well, through the chair, I would like, I mean, I'm leaving this up. I can't see who's got their hands up because we're sharing them.
Councillor Moore and then Councillor Lowther.
Right, okay.
I was as well, sorry.
Oh, and then right, through the chair, I would like to suggest that we go forward as soon as we can with this, and include batteries. I mean, the amount of savings that's being looked at is very good, but it's not just the savings, it's to go a bit greener.
Yes.
I think this really all depends on whether we're able to get permission to do it, and I don't know where it stands with the listed building. I did suggest in a conversation to Councillor Heath that maybe we could look at the use in the Riverside if we can't put it on the Manor, but I have been told that that's not going to be able to be done. So I will go over now to Councillor Moorhood first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's a very good idea basically, we've got to do something, agreed. But I have quite a lot of queries to do with this particular application, and Martin knows what they are. First of all, is the application in the name of the council? Because councillors can change, the council doesn't. So I think it needs to be in the name of the clerk of the council. The secondly is, it only says, I think, is it south-facing roof or some such. Now, it doesn't specify whether we're talking of the inner edges of the roof. I don't know if you're all familiar with it. It's on a square. So we have a pitched roof on each of the four sides of the building. So you have inner sides which cannot be seen from the road. I suspect, because I've gone into this with my house and given up, that if it's something that's outward facing on a listed building, it's probably not going to get a go ahead. And if it does, it has to be these solar slates, which are hugely expensive. However, we have an option of at least 2 of the 4 inner roofs. And I would like to know which roofs are specified, because it doesn't say on this application. I would be fairly, I would think that Timbridge would be well disposed towards something that's eco-friendly, going to save us money, climate change, all the rest, provided it's not affecting the look of the listed building. And we have got an option there. We've got a south and a west facing inner roof. So that really is my concern. That I do see somewhere else on the application, I haven't got it in front of me now, but there was an option for changing it. And I think we need to put that in there, that this might need to be revised depending on whether there are 2 parts of the roof. And obviously the inner ones will be a different size to the outer ones.
Chairman, I would suggest the survey would address all of those queries.
Yes,
Yeah.
I just don't want anything set precisely in this application, because it's going to be changed as we go along.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with the
Yeah.
Councillor Heath, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I just want to clarify what has just been spoken about. Yes, and I had a discussion about it. I think it's a wee bit preemptive. Let's get the survey done, as Andrew has said. see where we are. Unless I don't get a phone call, I have suggested to Andrew that when the survey is arranged, I'll be there on that day, as I know quite a bit about them anyway, and I've been doing it all. And I've also got solar panels myself. So I do intend to be there if no other reason stops me. And I can suggest what's been proposed there. And I think it will be automatically, we will look at 2 types of options to see if we can get an opportunity to get it done. So until that goes, and somebody's got to go in about 3 minutes, I think that's all we can say on that, but we would do our best to get it through.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Lowther.
And Councillor Goodman-Bradbury as well, Chairman.
No, I think.
Yeah.
Sorry, if that was me, Chair, I was simply going to say what the clerk said. The thing to do is the
Okay,
survey will go answer the question, and I will go for it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Goodman-Bradbury.
I was just going to say that I think that Teambridge would look on a listed building looking to put solar panels very favourably. That doesn't mean you can hold me to it, but it is something that has come up at Teambridge Planning, and I think they would work with us on that. I think it's quite an exciting prospect that we could do this, and I'm really impressed by the figures on that document you shared. So thank you, Andrew, for that. And thank you, Councillor Heath, for getting the ball rolling from that point of view and getting this all started off.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. As Councillor Moorhood said, we are in the lucky position that we've got almost a hidden roof, for want of a better way of describing it. So if we are lucky enough to be able to put solar panels onto that part, aesthetically, we'll still look as nice as we did before, because I can't say solar panels are pretty because they're not. But if we can hide them, it'd be absolutely fantastic. Councillor Moore, you wanted to say something?
I just wanted to say that the actual deposit on this is a very small sum, and if we had to lose it because we couldn't get consent, it's a small loss. It's worth a try.
And I don't think we will lose it. I think we'll get it back.
I think depending on where we end up with the panels, yes.
Yeah, subject to.
I would, before I go to Councillor Lowther, I would like to suggest that we go forward with this. Thank you. Councillor Lowther, Mary Lowther.
Thank you.
I was just going to say I'll second that. Sorry, Mary.
Thank you.
You don't need to second the chairman's thing.
Okay.
I was just going to say, when I read through the thing, it seemed as if it would be very, very difficult for us not to get our deposit back. They seemed to, everything they said was, you'll get your deposit back, you'll get your deposit back. So I think it's really self-assured that we will, no matter whether we have it or we can't have it for any reason, we get our deposit back.
Yeah, I only said we probably would, because I didn't want to be held by it as, oh, well, you should have known better. So I've given myself.
No, it was written down.
Yeah, I know. Just in case.
Thank you. Councillor Moorhood.
I'm sorry, I keep coming up with something. Just as nothing against it, very much in favour of it, but just one little thing to bear in mind. We will have to pay the surveyor as well as this deposit, but it's all worth the try anyway.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
You won't get the surveyor's money back.
No.
So we'll go to a vote. All those in favour?
I would vote, but I'm not supposed to.
Oh. Thank you very much. And that's it. All in favour. All done and dusted in time for Councillor Lowther to leave us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
That end, doesn't it, Andrew?
Pardon? It does. Yeah, that's it, Chairman. Thanks.
Okay.
Is Councillor Moore, is this a comment to do with the meeting, or can I stop?
No, you were going to bring up, you said after item 7, about the need for urgent remedial works to the porch. I won't call it the conservatory, because in the budget there's a separate item for the big proposed future conservatory. You did say that you would bring that up after the